Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Jess. Um, as you can see, we just kind of jumped right into the video, just making the drawing here, doing some line work over a pencil drawing that I had done, taken a photo, sent it to myself, yada yada yada, put it into Photoshop, and now we're drawing over top of it. Just as a tip, I typically work with 200 pixels per inch. I would recommend 300 though if you want really high quality prints. I'm doing 200 because it's basically all that my computer can handle right now, because I typically work with images that are like 30 by 40 inches, depending on, if they're landscape or portrait. But yeah, so I hope that you enjoy the line work so far. I realize it's very quick, it's very choppy. I think next time I make a video, I'm going to slow it down a little bit more instead of speeding it up so quickly. But yeah, I hope that you enjoy my commentary and the music that I've selected. So as we go through here, I'm just cleaning up the lines so that I like them, and making sure that my curves are right. I just flipped the canvas because my brain just couldn't even. And then I decided I absolutely hated the way that my smoke looked, so I needed to redo it so it made a little bit more sense. Oh right, yes. Before I forget, all of the music that I've used in this video will pop up on the screen, and you can find all of the information, I believe plus links, down below in the description box, just so you know where to find them. So you see here, I'm adding more lines and I'm fixing them up. I do have a small obsession with these like artifact lines. I like to add them whenever I can, which is sometimes a pain in the behind because it makes things very confusing, but I really enjoy them and I really enjoy making them. So I'm just fixing the line color, which I typically don't do as I go. I technically do it at the end, but I sort of liked to do it this time, and was having a fun time changing the colors as I was going, instead of waiting till the end and discovering what it would look like. So here I'm just blocking in my shapes so that I can remember what is negative space and what is actually supposed to be filled, because I will forget, and I have in the past. So I'm just going through and fixing all my line work, which I ended up doing like 3 extra times because this is not the only one that I had. Alright, so the other thing too is I really like psychedelic art. I love drip work, and I had slept on the original line work and woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning and went, nah, crown needs strips. So when I finally got up in the morning, that's what I did. This is sort of becoming like a theme in my artwork, where I sort of do like this drip work where things aren't really technically set in reality. And then I'm fixing the ear because I hate it. Needed to be taller. And finishing all my fill work. Oh, and then I also decided I wanted horns, so we did that as well. I forgot about that, so I made a little poo. And then I was like, I hate it. And these horns ended up changing a little bit again later. Anyway. So everything is on its own. Oh, and now I'm filling, so I'm fiddling with color. But I'm just going to take a moment, because most things, like all of the line work and actually most of the coloring too, there's all on its own layer, and that's just so that I don't have to like spend the time when I'm shading remembering where things are or where the boundaries are. I can just literally go willy-nilly. So if my brain isn't functioning properly, I'm just cleaning up these edges here. So if my brain isn't functioning properly while I'm drawing, I don't really have to worry about accidentally mixing colors or messing something up that I had just done, because it's exhausting for me. And to have to redo things 4 or 5 times because I didn't like the color sort of frustrates me. Also, I just wanted to comment, I changed the background color to purple so that I could see the light gray, because it just wasn't showing up on the background that I had previously selected. So if you're working with light colors, try to have a dark background every now and again so you can double check to see if you have any bleed over, and vice versa. So as we enjoy me flipping through colors right now, I had to actually remember to pause for a few minutes, knowing I was going to speed this up so it didn't seem like it was just flashing. So I apologize if this is still bad, but I did try. So now I am back on this fur to smoke fade, and I'm putting in all of those little detail lines, and I'm coloring them in. And I do actually shade them after as well. Now, partway through of doing this, I realized that there was a much easier way of doing this, and I believe I started that now, or I start doing it when I was shading, because I had forgotten that I could use the magical Dancy Ants, which is your magic tool, and then basically block off where I wanted to shade without having to worry about it. So I'm just adding some quick highlights, low lights to the main smoke. Didn't like that, redid it. This is also why I work on specific layers, because I'm a little messy when I'm roughing things in. So here I am trying to very carefully put in some shading without messing the other colors up. And I believe, yeah, so now I'm using the Dancy Ants. I was like, wait a minute. So I am using warmer colors to shade, and it's sort of just like a balance between the warm tones and the cool tones, which end up being way less of them when I finish than when I started, but that's okay. I started noticing some issues and mistakes that I had made along the way as well, but I sort of had to wait till I was finished. Now I know that my smoke looks like metal, but I don't care, I like it. Sort of interesting and seems really weighted and airy at the same time. So I had decided to sort of change the eye shape out instead of just making it solid. I was looking at my cat's eyes and some photos, and I was like, I think that we need a little bit more information. So started doing this. I do have to apologize for the eye though. I had filmed the entire thing being done from start to finish, as you see me messing around here, and then I kind of slow it down in the next little frame here. But I did end up losing some footage, which is why you saw me zoom in. That was the finished eye. So my apologies. And then we have me doing the exact same thing I did on the eye, on the crown, which is just trying to figure out lowlights, highlights, extra colors to make it more vibrant, make it more like lifelike. And this is what I mean, if you ever see me describe my art as like pseudo-realism, this is sort of what I mean. It's like if you squint, it could be real, but if you like came up really close, you'd be like if you see having my real life paintings, you're like, oh, I can see all your brush strokes. But if you stand far away enough, or if in my case, you just take off your glasses, it looks great. But I really like drawing metal. Drawing metal is really fun. I love adding shines. I love adding some melty textures to this, or trying to make it look like it's sort of like, it's the gold hasn't settled. It's sort of like liquid, still fluid, because I mean it is dripping. Fixing his nose up because I thought it looked a little funky, and now we start all of the shading on the fur. Now, watching this back, I frustrate myself. So if you want to comment down below at what time in this video you were like, oh my god, please stop, don't push it any further, or like, oh my god, if you just stopped here it would look fine. Just comment that down below with the timestamp, or like just put like what time it was. You don't have to actually like timestamp it. But don't worry, you're frustrated, I'm equally as frustrated at myself. So here I am just smudging everything out. Now I'm using the mixer brush, and it took me a hot while, but I discovered that you can use it as a dry brush, and honestly, I feel like it took me way too long for me to realize that. Oh, this is the one I was like, oh, I should have just, I'm like, oh, it looks great, and then no, I hated it in real life, and then when I was watching this back, I'm like, I could have just kept it, it looked great. So here, I'm just adding some more shading. This is still a warm tone, and I do end up going in a few times with some colder tones just to kind of reintroduce them, because I did start out with a cold base and then worked with the warm, and it sort of disappeared a little bit too much too quickly for my liking, so I did add it back in a little bit. And that's the important thing too, is you have to keep in mind is when you are shading, it's not necessarily just about using a duller color or a darker color. You can also think about like the tone that you use. So typically things that are sitting back in space are colder, and if you want something to sit forward in space, you're going to use a warmer tone. So here I am just aggressively dotting some highlights in, because I needed to fill that space out a little bit more. It was too cold and wasn't holding the mass that I wanted. So we go in with an even lighter color and aggressively highlight, and then buff it out so it looks like a texture rather than just dots. Just something to add is when you're working digitally or in a traditional medium, make sure that you guys are zooming out or, quote, taking a step back from your work just to make sure that it still feels harmonious, because I know sometimes we can kind of get wrapped up in stuff, but if you keep focused in that little window, that little space that you're working on and you're pushing and pulling it, it might not seem harmonious or make sense with the rest of the work. So just make sure that you're zooming out or taking a break and trying to absorb your artwork as you're making it. Alright, finally doing the horns. So I ended up changing these a little bit after I did the highlights and stuff, because I ended up not liking the line work that I did. So I just kind of cleaned it up, simplified it, and focused more on the shading and highlights. They sort of look a little bit shiny, sort of like they were just polished, but I mean, he is a cat, so someone probably fancied him up. And there you go, I'm starting to just put in my signature, which I cheated and made a brush for it, highly recommended. Changing the colors, fixing up some other details, and then I call it finished in a couple of seconds. So keep an eye out, check me out on Twitch, like and subscribe if you like this video, and hopefully in a couple of weeks there will be another one. Ciao for now, Gremlins!